All right, today we're going to break down a pretty interesting leadership model called the Superstar Leader. We're going to walk through the logic of the specific framework step by step to really understand what it's all about. So everything we're going to talk about really kicks off with this one line, a direct quote from the source material. This sentence introduces the key idea, this concept of a hotspot, and it specifically ties it to women leaders. You could say this is the foundation for the whole model. So, just so we're all on the same page, our goal here is pretty straightforward. We're just going to analyze the terms and the logic of this model exactly as they're laid out in the source. Think of it as deconstructing the framework to see how it's built and what it's actually saying. Okay, so this whole thing, it really boils down to one single word, hotspot. Everything else in this model just flows right from this core idea. So the obvious first question is, what in the world do they mean by hotspot? And that brings us right here. Let's dig into the exact definition that the source gives us so we can really get what this model is built on. And here it is. This is the source's definition. A hotspot is defined as, and I quote, the weakness. I mean, look how explicit that is. The text isn't just suggesting a connection, it's saying a hotspot is a weakness. So within this framework, those two words, totally interchangeable. Okay, so if a hotspot equals a weakness, you gotta ask the next question, right? Where does this weakness actually come from? Well, the source doesn't leave it up to interpretation. It points to some very specific components. According to the text, this weakness comes from 4 distinct parts of a leader's personal profile. Let's take a closer look at what those are. So there you have it, the 4 components. According to the source, this weakness comes from a leader's emotion, their attitudes, their behavior, and their personality. These 4 pretty fundamental traits are pinpointed as the root cause. Now, this is absolutely key. The model doesn't just stop at, identifying these traits. It actually proposes a very clear course of action. This isn't just about being aware of this so-called weakness. It's about actively doing something about it. The path that this source lays out is a really simple 2-step process. First, you reveal the hotspot, which we now know is defined as a weakness. And second, you learn how to minimize that weakness. The goal isn't to manage it or understand it or channel it, but specifically to minimize it. So that brings us to the final piece of this puzzle. Why? Why would a leader go through this whole process of identifying and then minimizing these core personal traits? Well, the source promises a very specific and I'd say very aspirational outcome. Let's just put the question out there. After revealing and minimizing this hotspot, what does the model promise you'll become? What's the end game here? And there's your answer. The whole promised outcome is to lead like a superstar. That's the payoff. The model presents this as the direct result of minimizing the weakness that comes from your emotion, attitudes, behavior, and personality. So we'll just leave you with this to think about. Now that we've broken down the logic of this superstar leader model step by step, what do you think are the implications of a leadership framework that is, at its core, built on the idea of minimizing personal traits? It's definitely something to chew on.